Hello, welcome back to another video from Tachyon Lance. Today we're going to be continuing to look at Strikecraft. I've had a number of comments on some possible designs and how to counter carriers, so we're going to explore them. If you are liking my videos on all the different fleet combats and or advanced builds, please hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. It does help me to get more viewers and get more traffic through my site, which helps me with giving me some satisfaction for all the work and effort I put into making these videos, and that's how you can help me out. The other thing is I have created a Discord channel. You'll see it in pinned comments or in the description below. It's also in the comments on my site, so if you want to have a general chat about things or talk with other people, I'm trying to create a little community for Stellaris and also for multiplayer games, things like that. So if you want that, you can feel free to join my Discord channel. Alright, so we've got a setup here that was suggested in our comments section. Okay, so this build was suggested by Star Fury in the comments to the first video on carriers and Strikecraft. So if we have a look at the build, it's a pretty basic build, standard build that we've used before in other testing with the cruiser torpedoes. So standard kinetic artillery, Tachyon Lancers, and I've just put shields and armor on this one with targeting computers or auxiliary fire control. And we've got the artillery computers. So pure firepower and damage output versus the battleship carriers. So let's see how this battle turns out.
Hostile fleet assets engaged.
A couple carriers down, 3 carriers. You can see they've done a fair bit of damage in their alpha strike. Bang, yeah, they're doing a lot of damage. They're knocking down a couple of battleships as well, but they've lost too many. Let's just check the damage. What is actually ripping apart these carriers? Tachyon Lancers, kinetic artillery. Yeah, Tachyon Lancers. They are really hammering that fleet. The Strikecraft just can't do enough damage because they lost too many carriers too quickly. Very good. So that's another counter for a carrier fleet, just a standard battleship design. And this is sort of what I was talking a bit about yesterday, that sometimes you can go too much with going for point defenses and flak, and it weakens your overall firepower, whereas this fleet is just pure firepower. Just pump out that firepower and hit the enemy as hard as you can. Now I want to try a couple of other little builds versus this type of design to see if it's still as effective. Okay, for this test I've changed up our carrier design. I've added in a spinal mount section and put in a focused arc emitter so that we can attack at long range, get through the shields and armor, do damage to the hull, which will hopefully assist the Strikecraft with their getting through the shields and damaging armor, and also the missiles. So hopefully this complements this overall design and we do a bit more damage. I've also added in, instead of going for the afterburners, use armor hardening, shield hardening, and also shield capacitors to give us greater defensive strength, so that we the carriers can last longer and get more Strikecraft to the battleships before they start dying, because I noticed that the carriers were just dying too quickly, so I've increased their strength ability. And this was also suggested in the comments section, just to test out how strong and how much of an advantage this is. So if our battleships last a lot longer in the fight, then we know this is playing a big part. So that is a good test of actually the new shield hardening and armor hardening versus these battleships, because we saw how quickly these guys went down last time. So let's see how it turns out this time. Still lost a couple carriers there. They've also lost one, they've lost another. A little bit even more fight this time. Definitely more even. Oh, they wasted them. There we go. Carrier battleships reassert their dominance. So this was also suggested in the comment section to put the spinal weapon on the carriers. So that just evened up that fight, and we could see that our carriers in that initial fighting didn't die as quickly. They lost, I think, 2 carriers instead of 3, and then over the next 20 seconds or so the carriers didn't drop as quick, which meant the strike craft stayed in the fight longer. They were able to get off more arc emitter shots which went straight through their shields and armor. So there you go. So we found a way to kill the carrier, but then we've also found a way to counter it quite quickly. So that was a pretty successful test. So what I want to look at now is we've looked a lot at advanced weapons on carriers and strike craft. I want to have a look a bit in the early and mid-game technologies now on how strong strike craft are in the early and mid-game phase of the game. So I'll do some tests with some cruiser carriers, with some level 1 strike craft, level 2 strike craft versus fleets with comparable technology for the same era of the game, and we'll see how strong strike craft are in those battles, so that to see if it's worthwhile just to build lots of carriers early in the game to dominate the battlefield. Okay, for this battle we've got lower level tech towards the start of the game, the early game. We've got our cruiser carriers, which you can see here have got all lower level weapons, which are easily obtainable very early in the game. You probably even have higher level weapon techs than this, but it's just to simulate the early game. So nothing out of the ordinary there. So we're going for strike craft, missiles, torpedoes, a bit of point defense, and basic shields and armor with a bit of fire control and some afterburners. For our opposing fleet, we've got destroyers with just a mix of all your standard weapons, standard armor and shields, with picket combat computers. Then we've got corvettes, same mix of the early weapons, shields and armor, afterburners with swarm combat computers. We've got frigates with the early torpedo and early plasma, shields and armor, afterburners, torpedo, combat computers, and that's it. You can see our fleet makeup there: 30 destroyers, 40 frigates, 70 corvettes. So see how they go against 42 cruisers. That's a lot of ships and a lot of firepower. So this early in the game, I don't think the strike craft will be able to cope with that many ships, but we'll see. You can go to strike craft, point defenses. They closed very quickly. Now losing a lot of ships. No cruisers lost yet. Wow. Alright, let's stop here. Strike craft are doing incredibly well. Look at that, 21,000. The next one is space torpedoes, which both sides have got. Then missiles, the big jump there. The torpedoes are a bit closer there, but strike craft are leading again. And the smaller weapons there for the shields. So strike craft are very effective so far. Oh, we've lost one cruiser. 2 cruisers. But their fleet's been annihilated. Oh. Nah, it's a retreated fleet. So we lost 3 cruisers, and they lost, what was that, 110 ships. Very decisive win there. So that's how effective cruisers can be with one strike craft and just using basic weapons. So I think that was a pretty even fight. Maybe now I'll try it against strike craft against other cruisers. Let's see how that works out. Okay, so for this battle we've got cruisers versus cruisers for the early fight. Although you're not going to have fleets this large this early. I'm just leaving the fleets as larger fleets just so it looks better for the video. It simulates a larger battle. So you're probably going to be dealing with fleets of probably 180 naval cap early in the game. Okay, so this is going to be a cruiser torpedo build. Torpedoes there, missiles. See if we can get in nice and close. We have torpedoes, do a lot of multiplicative damage on these cruisers, and let our missiles fire from long range, shields and armor, afterburners, we can get in there quick. And our same carrier cruisers, no changes to them. So let's see how this plays out. Now taking more losses. Pretty even. The battle is really spread out everywhere. Yeah. Okay, let's just check the damage here. The carriers have got on top again. Space torpedoes did a lot of damage then. Space torpedoes. Strike craft just a bit behind. So is that our... was that our strike craft or torpedo fleet? I can't tell now. Must be our strike craft, we've got so many left. How many times are they going to retreat? Okay. Looks like a clear win to our carrier strike craft. So that was... yeah. Alright, so the cruisers with torpedoes didn't work. Now try cruisers with just standard weapon, or longer range weaponry. See if we can use like the battleship beat the carrier battleship in our first battle. Let's see if we can simulate the same with a cruiser versus cruiser. Okay, so for this fight we've got our cruisers with just standard sort of longer range early weapons, some medium range weapons, shields and armor. We've put some auxiliary fire control on there, hopefully get some more hits. We're using the line combat computer, so advanced to medium range and fire all our weapons. Let's see how this goes. Looks like they are doing more damage this time. Both sides are losing ships. See the shields and armor is going down. Nearly ship for ship. Let me just stop there, check damage. Yeah, just a strike craft, look at the damage. Even larger plasma weapons, coil guns. Yeah, they just can't keep up the strike craft damage. So even early strike crafts, very effective. That's their reserve fleet. Okay.
Alert, fleet unit offline.
So we're seeing here consistently that strike craft are just doing more damage at comparable levels of technology. Where is my earlier ship? There it is. So the strike craft with 100% shield penetration, 50% armor. So they only have to get through 50% of the armor, and that's it. They're into the hull straight away early, which is a lot earlier than most weapons. And earlier in the game, you don't have, you know, arc emitters or tachyon lancers and things like that to combat this type of scenario. Yeah, it's very difficult to combat because the cruisers have such amounts of hull points, armor, and shields early that earlier weapons just can't seem to do enough damage to destroy them, get rid of them quick enough before the strike craft can do too much damage. The strike craft are just too quick and do too much damage before those cruisers can get killed. That's what makes them very effective in the early game. Alright, I might test an early battleship carrier now. See how we go with that, and I'll up the level of weapons. We'll probably go to about tier 3 weapons and shields and armor. Okay, so we've got our 2 battleship fleets. So we've got level 3 kinetics, level 2 plasmas, level 3 shields and armor, auxiliary fire control, and we've got artillery computer, advanced artillery computer. So hopefully these guys can close into range, knock out their shields, get through their armor, and start doing a lot of damage. These guys are using level 2 strike craft, level 3 missiles, basically level 2 PDs and flak. Level 2 carrier computers, same shields and armor. We're using the first level of reactive armor and shield hardening with shield capacitors. So this is basically to simulate technology that you would have around the time when you research battleships. And this is around that mid-game era, so that you haven't got spinal mount weapons yet. We haven't got any type of really advanced, powerful weapons. So this is to see if battleship carriers can dominate the mid-game versus other battleships or not. So far it's pretty even. They've lost a few carriers, lost a few battleships. Pretty even. Very even. They look to be losing more hull and armor though. Yeah, they're losing their armor, losing their hull a bit faster. Oh, it's 15-15. Yeah, no, losing their fleet. Yeah, just a strike craft. Look at that again. Improved strike craft. Improved strike craft again. They're just getting so much damage output in comparison to hull and armor. Wasn't completely one-sided though. So they lost 7 battleships versus 21, so still a pretty crushing victory. So strike craft to win again. See, even if we added a level of screening ships like destroyers to screen the battleships going to lose significant amounts of power, firepower to damage his fleet. Yeah, it's a hard one. Strike craft just seem to be dominating most battles. Okay, so for this battle, we've still got our battleships that we used in the last battle. Same design, no changes to try and destroy our carriers. This time we've got 41 destroyers with flak to try and destroy those strike craft before they do too much damage. Let's see if this even ups the fight or if the result is similar. See that flak? Damaged quite a few of them. See the destroyer numbers dropping quick. Lost a few carriers. Retreated. They're just not doing enough damage. Look at the damage again. Improved strike craft. Yep. Same old problem. Yep. So even the flak with 40 plus destroyers is not enough. Alright, okay. So that did not work. So as we've seen with the more advanced designs, the PD and flak just isn't enough to stop the strike craft. They could still get through, and you seem to lose too much firepower from your fleet to compensate for the improvement in having more defences with your flak and PD. So it just doesn't seem like a worthwhile investment. It seems like you're just better off going all out attack, trying to increase your offensive firepower. Okay, so for this battle, we're trying our cruiser torpedo fleet versus our battleship carrier fleet. So this is a lower tech version of our Devastator torpedo fleet. So level 2 torpedoes, level 3 missiles, level 2 torpedo computers, armor and shields. I have put the shield, first generation shield hardener and armor hardener on here to see if we can give it a bit more defensive firepower so they can get through and do their damage, and a bit of afterburners to increase that speed. Well, our battleships remain unchanged. Let's see who can prevail. Let's see if the torpedoes can get the job done in this one. We've lost a few battleships, they're losing cruisers, but it's a lot more even. Still losing battleships. Lost a lot of armour, they've lost a lot of armour. Might just be losing too many cruisers though. Yeah, we are. Losing too many cruisers now. Too many have retreated. 43,000 improved strike craft again. Improved strike craft, they're in front of the armoured torpedoes, both. Yeah. So even with the multiplicative damage, the improved strike craft are in front of the torpedoes. That's quite crazy. Okay, that's just a retreated fleet. Alright, so I've pretty much tried everything I can that I can think of reasonably without going into hundreds and hundreds of builds. So what we've seen with the early weapons, the mid-game weapons, strike craft continue to be effective at all tiers of the game. And there doesn't seem to be a ready counter that you can't also counter. Without spinal weapons, which can counter, and a longer range kinetic weapons can counter the carrier battleship, but as we saw, you can put a spinal weapon on the carrier battleship and that counters that, so the carrier battleship still reigns supreme. Yeah, so very difficult. The only effective counter we've seen which can beat the carrier battleship was with the arc emitters, but I'd like to try that one versus the spinal carrier actually as well, to see who wins. So I've got a couple of builds I want to try now as well from some comments. So we'll go back to a few more advanced builds, a few more battles, and then we'll end the video. Okay, so for this fight we've got our carriers with the arc emitter spinal weapon to see how this fleet will go against the fleet we had yesterday, which beat the pure carrier battleship. So this was the only fleet which beat the carrier battleship yesterday. We did have a design today from Star Fury with the tachyon lance and the kinetic batteries, which beat the carrier battleship, but it did not beat this fleet. This fleet countered it with having a spinal weapon on the carrier, countered the design from Star Fury with the tachyon lance. So, but I wanted to see if this design we had yesterday, which one can counter this design. So let's see, and if the carriers win this battle, then they're pretty much undefeated in everything we've thrown out at them. Battle of the arc emitters. big slugfest. Just losing more battleships. You can see the strike craft focusing fire, whittling them down. Yeah. Let's have a look. Well, it'd be hard to tell in this battle because both sides have arc emitters. Yeah. Whirlwind missiles doing a fair bit of damage there because there are a lot of them. There we go. Clear victory for our arc emitter carrier battleship. They've defeated everything you can throw at them. So, yep. There's a couple of designs now I want to try from some comments that were made, and we'll see if that changes the equation. If not, this design seems to be the most effective and efficient, countering everything thrown at it. So this design here, this just seems to be the most effective. Maybe you can change weapons out and maybe make it better or worse, I'm not sure, but they just seem to be very powerful. Nothing seems to be able to combat it at the moment without resorting to Titans and things like that, which then you'd have your own Titans anyway, which would balance it out. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, this is a fleet composition that's been suggested in comments by Gior. Hopefully I pronounced your name right, sorry if I haven't. This battleship fleet is a little bit different. We've just changed up. We did use this in our first video, designed similar to this, but it had 2 plasmas instead of 1 gamma laser. It had all armor. This time we've put on double armor hardening instead of some afterburners, so to give us a lot greater defensive strength versus our standard carrier fleet. So we'll see how this goes versus this fleet. This fleet also has armor hardening and shield hardening. Let's check it out. Let's see if this fleet can be a winner. It should be very strong armor, so hopefully we've got a winner. Pretty even. Oh, they've lost a couple of battleships now. They've got 1 retreated, 2 retreated. They're losing more. Oof. Hard to tell who's winning. Very close. Let's just pause there and just see the kinetic artillery, advanced strike craft, large gamma laser, advanced strike craft. Oof, look at the damage they're doing to that armor, ripping through it. Kinetic artillery, gamma laser. So we've got 30k versus 36, so these carriers could be going down. Yep, carriers could be going down in this one. Gonna be close. Nearly lost all their armor. Oof. Ship for ship. Oh, the strike craft are coming back. They've just focused them. Ah, they've still won. Yeah, they won. That's the retreated fleet now, so won't worry about that. So that was a good try though, Gior. That was very close. It was the armor hardening did make that fleet a lot stronger. So that was a lot closer battle. But I think even if that design did win, if we brought the spinal weapon in with the Archimedes for the carrier, I think it'd be a decisive win for that design then as well, because I think that counters nearly everything else you can throw at it. But yeah, that was a good attempt, but still the carriers held the day. Alright, I'll just look at something else quickly. Okay, this is another suggestion from Gior. This is a change to our mixed fleet versus our carrier fleet from our first video. We've changed the battleship design a little bit. We've changed the Giga Cannon for Tachyon Lance and replaced the 2 plasmas with another kinetic. Also has the shield hardener and armor hardener artillery computer. Cruisers, we've changed the Devastator torpedoes for energies. We've changed missiles out for Gauss cannons and missiles out for plasma and lasers. So hopefully these are all working together to destroy the armor quickly. We've got shield hardener, armor hardener and armor hardener. So let's see how that goes. Then we've got our PD destroyers, which are all flak. We've got Gauss cannon and plasma to contribute a little bit to the fight when they're close in the range. And I've also added some reactive armor, and that's got picket computers. So our carrier battleships are the standard carrier battleship. And we'll see how this does against this fleet. Lost a carrier already. They've lost about 10 destroyers. Shields and armor are going down. Lost a couple of carriers, 3 carriers, 4 or 5. Ooh, it's going to be close. Let's just see what the damage is here. Advanced strike craft. Advanced strike craft. Tachyon lancers. Yep, neutron launchers. Still close. They've lost too much now though. Too much has retreated. That's just their retreated fleet. Okay, so you can see there again, their carrier fleet held the day. Alright, so I think that's enough for today. So the conclusions is that pretty much everything we have thrown at carriers in early game, mid game, late game, without resorting to exotic weapons and getting into titans and nanite weapons and all these other more advanced things, strike craft and carriers are dominating or can dominate the battlefield. We've seen now this is 20 something battles of huge different range of combinations and suggestions, and the carriers win the day. Even we've had a couple of designs which could counter your basic carrier. The carrier with the spinal weapon, the Archimedes, focused Archimedes, that holds the day, and chuck a bit of armor in here, and that wins. It's won every battle. It's undefeated. So I'm not sure what else can beat this. It seems very powerful. So either the flak and PD is not quite balanced, or its paradox intentions to make strikecraft more effective, more valuable use in the game. It'd be interesting to see how Starbase does with all strikecraft defense platforms versus large fleets. I think that's a battle I'm going to leave for another video, another day, because that will be interesting to see as well. If you do like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and we'll keep making more videos and doing more tests. And also you can join my Discord channel if you want to talk about things, or just join a local community, or if you want to join in some multiplayer games in the future with different people. Alright, well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.